Requesting again, please mute yourselves. Starting the event, I am Carol Mendonça, Event Manager of IIC Council. A very warm good morning to respected Principal Shrija Unnikrishnan, the guest speaker, and all the faculty members present here. The guest speaker for today's webinar is Dr. S.S. Rathod. Dr. S.S. Rathod has received PhD from IIT Roorkee. He is instrumental in setting outcome-based education at Electronics Department of SPIT. He has published more than 75 papers with Best Awards, Paper Awards, received recognition as IUCEE, ISTE Best Engineering College Teacher, Shiksha Ratan, and Certificate of Excellence by International India Friendship Society. Where education is fundamental for achieving human potential and developing equitable and just society, and also for promoting national development. Keeping that perspective in mind, the Government of India has introduced the National Education Policy 2020 that aims to reorient the education system by achieving the twin objective of inclusion and excellence. Now I welcome Dr. S.S. Rathod to share his expertise and knowledge on national education policy. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, madam. Good morning to one and all. And thank you, Sija madam. Thank you, Boy sir. Thank you, everyone, for inviting me for this talk. And Happy New Year to everyone. This is my New Year's first speech. So I hope this entire year, starting with the Father Agnes speech, will go very well for me at least. And as madam said and sir also said that this is the second home for me. Yes, Father Agnel, Bandra and Vashi, both colleges are special for me. And this is my first speech, and second invitation is from Vashi for some other topic. But immediately I got that. So both Father Agnes very dear to me. So today's topic is for this 1 hour is National Education Policy 2020. And all of you know that since this discussion is on national education policy, it will be kind of an informative talk, kind of an information that has been drafted in the policy. Is my role probably would be to pass on that information to the attendees in the best possible manner, and at the same time, wherever possible, to quote few examples from our experiences. And so as such, there is no logic or separate any logical conclusions or something like that. Obviously, it has to be a policy which has been approved by the government, and in what intent and in what light it has been passed. That is what we need to probably discuss in 1 hour. So it's a very big policy, very interesting concepts are there, very encouraging policy, very enthusiastic policy, very courageous policy, and we will talk in detail about it. But I think in this 1 hour, when madam requested me for session, I had given a 1 hour's time. But then after going through all the points, I realized that even 1 hour may not be sufficient. But it's okay. We will have 1 hour session on this. Out of 1 hour, I will try to cover up the 30%, not 30, but 50% of time. That means up to 11:30 or maybe 35. We will have to talk about the school education, and then probably it will be on higher education. So half of division. I personally believe that we must talk about the entire policy in toto as it is. Whatever is the approved policy, we should talk about it rather than just pulling up only the part in which we are interested, probably the professional education. It should not happen like that. When we want to learn anything from its intent, we must start from the basics, and that's what I believe. And therefore, we must spend some time on learning about the primary, secondary education reforms that have been given by the National Education Policy, right? Because that's how we will also be encouraged to move towards the reforms that are given in the higher education sector. So let us start with this concept. So in India, you know that it was a very rich, as far as education system is concerned. We have a very rich culture, and a rich culture is thousands of years of culture. When we had the first university like Takshashila University, Nalanda University, and there are so many universities like Ratnagiri University, which was in Odisha, right? These were the universities which were foundation stone and governing the economies of the entire world, not only the India at that point of time. So India was the only country to have university education in an ancient time. So if you take a system like, for example, Takshashila University, and if you go into the details of Takshashila University, it was not the university which was for, let us say, a religion, or it was not the university which was for a technical thing, or metallurgy, or astronomy, or some Vedic science. No. When the term university comes, all these universities which are shown on the screen, they were universities devoted for multiple disciplines, starting from medicine to astrology to everything, you can say, right? So in the process, the knowledge was very rich in culture and every aspect. But then what happened is, this has been realized by the invaders of our country, that India was very powerful because of their rich education culture. And if you want to destroy a country, the best way to destroy the country is destroy its culture, destroy its education, right? And that is what has happened over several years, particularly last 1,000 years. So these temples of knowledge, which were existing in our country, have been invaded, and the glorious history of our entire Indian Vedic education system has been completely destroyed by these invaders, right? And I believe that this policy, national education policy, has studied this in detail. That's what is my realization, and therefore they want us to go back to the university system, which was existing as our own, very own system, right? Even latest of the architect that is available as a Jantar Mantar at various places, including Jaipur, if you see, where you might have visited at some point of time. It's a great education system, right? It is not an university, it's only for astrology, but it was a great education system, and present from last 1,000 years, right? And still it is relevant, right? So I need not talk about the importance of education. All of us knows what is education. But let us try to read some of the quotes which have been given by our forefathers, starting from Chanakya. Chanakya said, education is the best friend. An educated person is respected everywhere. Education builds the beauty and the youth, right? Einstein, education is not the learning of the facts, but the training of the mind to think, right? Everybody, like Aristotle, education is an ornament in prosperity and refuge in adversity. Education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world, Nelson Mandela said. And our very own Mahatma Gandhiji, he has so many quotes on education, One of the quote, very interesting quote, I would like to read over here, is about live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. What is this? If you try to, if you understand our accreditation system, NBA, National Board of Accreditation, this is the last graduate attribute that is called as lifelong learning. This is what is a lifelong learning, right? If you want to correlate it with this quote, this is the lifelong learning. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever, right? So I need not tell you about the importance of education. All our gurus, including Vivekananda ji, has said that education is the prime importance in our life, right? So then why it has been neglected for so many years? Because of so many reasons, starting from the invaders, and then we had a British system, colonial system. We were colonized by the Britishers, right? And then they have brought affiliated system of education in our country because they wanted to exercise the control over the education. Once you control the education, you can control everything, right? And that's how the education has been controlled in our country, at least in the 1800 and the 1900 century. But then when we got an independence, somehow that culture of affiliated system has been continued for whatever is the reason, but it has been continued till date, and still it is there existing in our system, which has been abolished by the country like Britain, who has started this affiliated system. It is not existing there, but still it is existing in our colonized countries like India, right? So if this is the history or evolution of education policy. Education policy as such is not new, but the plans which have been proposed in this education policy are very, very courageous, right? So as soon as we got a freedom, we had a University Education Commission. Starting from there, we had so many commissions, including Kothari Commission, etc., etc. But courageous policy has came into 1986, which has brought a lot of reforms into education. That was called as a National Policy on Education, 1986. And after 1986, actually the major policy that has come is right now, after almost 34 years, that is National Policy on Education 2020. So this policy is not a work of one day. It is a work of several years and a lot of consultation processes. So if you read the document, you will come to know that to what great extent consultations have been carried out. So lakhs of gram panchayats have been consulted, blocks have been consulted, districts have been consulted, all kinds of education sector people have been consulted. Fortunately, I was also part of one of the discussion, and when the draft was floated online, I had also given my points or my opinion onto the draft in an online mechanism. So a lot of consultation. Finally this policy has been approved on 29th July 2020 by the Union Cabinet of India, and that is what we are going to discuss. Now let us talk about why this policy has been so much in focus. And this policy claims that Indian education system is completely going to be transformed, right? Let us first talk, how do you measure the education system or success of education system? Success of any education system is measured by a statistical parameter that is called as a GER. GER is a gross enrollment ratio. It is basically a statistical parameter. And this particular chart is about 2014, but I do have the statistics, recent statistics as well. So just see what is GER for India and what is GER for China, USA, and Germany, right? What is GER? Statistical parameter. Means, for example, if I want to calculate a GER for higher education institution. So GER for higher education institution means how many students or people are eligible for higher education divided by the how many people have opted for higher education divided by the total number of eligible candidates to go for higher education. So age group, let us say if you take 19 years to 23 years, and then if you calculate the people or the population of a country that is present in, let us say 2019, in age group of 19 to 24 years total population, and you calculate how many people have gone for higher education from this population. So the people have gone for higher education divided by the total number of population existing in that age group is gross enrollment ratio, right? So now if you see the gross enrollment ratio in 2014 in higher education, India is 23. That means out of 100 people existing in the age group of 19 to 24, only 23 out of 100 are opting for higher education. China, USA, Germany, you can see, right? You'll be surprised to know that before 2000, the GR in higher education was less than 10% for India. It was less than 10% for India. And in fact, China was also not very great. But then Chinese have improved a lot. And if you see the gross enrollment ratio in higher education by China, it is 51 right now. And what is India? Recent figure. India's recent figure is 26.3%. So gross enrollment ratio in India is 26.3%. USA, it is 88%. United Kingdom, it is 60%. Germany, it is 70%. Canada, it is 69%. Iran, it is 70%. Indonesia, it is 36%. Malaysia, it is 45%. So when I'm saying this percentage, like South Korea, 94% highest, it means that in South Korea, in the age group of, it is actually calculated between 18 to 22 by the United Nations. So between 18 to 22 age group, in South Korea, out of 100 people, 94 goes for the higher education. While in India, it goes from up to 26.3%. This is the recent figure, right? So it tells us that still access to education, particularly in higher education, is not still that significant. We need to create good education systems, right? People are not having access to education. That is the meaning of this data, right? When we say our, let us consider Maharashtra, we say that our state is very powerful in education. But see the GR, higher education, these are the government figures, right? These are the government figures, IIC's figures. You can go to website and find out from the website. 32% is the GR for Maharashtra, recent figures, right? 32 means out of 100 people in the age group of, it is calculated from 18 to 23 years of an age group. And in this age group, out of 100 people present population there, only 32 are going for higher education, correct? So that means there is a serious problem with our education sector and we need to rectify that. By considering all these aspects, there is a strong vision that has been created for this education policy, and it has been based on many important aspects. So like they want to revamp this GR, gross enrollment ratio, to at least 50% by 2035. See, when we say this policy is a courageous policy, we want to go from 26.3% to 50% in next 15 years, right? While the countries like South Korea, which is leading the map, is having 94% as of now, right? Even China is having 51%. So just imagine that if we don't follow these policy guidelines, then how much behind we will lag, right? So therefore, it is very important to read NEP in detail and their recommendations and follow those recommendations. This NEP gives us a completely new vision, and its vision is based on the many pillars, like as I said, access to education. So access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability are the foundations of this national policy 2020. First of all, access. Everybody should get an access to education, right? So therefore, in fact, the ministry, MHRD, has been renamed. It has been recommended by National Policy of Education that MHRD, Ministry of Human Resources and Development, should be renamed as Ministry of Education. And immediately this first step has been followed, and now it is not MHRD, it is the Ministry of Education, right? A major reconfiguration of curricular and pedagogical structure with early childhood care education has been an integral part of school education. So I will talk about it, ECCE, what exactly it is. So the vision of NEP is to create a vibrant education-based, knowledge-based society which provides the high-quality education to all spheres of the society, to all the stakeholders of the society, to each and every single individual of the society. One more important vision is to create a deep sense of constitutional values, bonding with one's country, and conscious awareness. Because if our school kids are not bonded, or their ethical values are not so strong, or constitutional values, they don't know about their duties, they don't know about their rights, fundamental rights, then probably we will not serve the purpose of education. And that is what it has been emphasized. And the third vision is to have a skill-based education, right? Globally relevant education. So all these points are very important. This vision is very important. All right. So these slides are for entire policy of education, but with the time limit, I will stick to some of the key concepts. Like the key principles of this national policy of education is respect for diversity and local context. You know what is the meaning of respect for diversity, right? Equity and inclusion from all corners of the society, community participation, use of technology, emphasis on conceptual understanding rather than the rote learning, and unique capabilities. That means recognizing that each and every student is unique. Each and every individual that is born on this earth is unique. Recognizing that and encouraging that this policy talks about. It talks about critical thinking and creativity, It talks about the continuous review system, review of the entire education process, including the policy itself, right? So these are the key principles of national education policy. As now, my presentation is divided into two parts: school education and then higher education. Professional education, as far as higher education is concerned, professional education is a part of higher education, and therefore when we talk about professional education, our college education, that time itself we will discuss about the engineering education, or you can say higher education. So first part is about school education. Very courageous policy. It talks about many things. Very good expected outcomes from universalization of the access, equity, inclusion, etc. Bringing back 2 crores of the out of school children as on date. Right now, the data says that 2 crores of children are out of school education in our country. Bringing back them to the system, and skill-based education. All these are very good expected outcomes. So now this is what is a major milestone that is going to occur in this, that has been recommended in this policy. One of the major step already taken was in year 2009. It was an Right to Education Act which had been passed. However, if you see the Right to Education Act, it provides the primary and secondary education, compulsory primary education to each and every child. That is what Act says. But the age group is limited from 6 years to 14 years. Now, this policy extends the Right to Education Act from age group of 3 to 18 years. So now the child from 3 years to 18 years will get the school education, and it has been divided into 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 curriculum structure. So curricular and the pedagogical structure is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. First 5 years are called as foundation stage, which includes 3 years of a pre-primary. That means 3 years of a pre-primary education. Then we used to call it as a class 1, class 2. So 3 years of pre-primary and class 1, class 2 is called as a foundation education now. Then 3 years are called as preparatory stage. So classes 3 to 5. Class 3 to class 5 is preparatory stage. And class 6 to class 8 is middle stage. And class 9 to class 12 is secondary stage. Right? So now 9, 10, 11, 12 is clubbed together, and that is called as a secondary stage. So there are 4 stages that are emphasized. So our existing curriculum, our existing academic structure is 10 plus 2. We call it as a 10 plus 2 education system. So age group 6 to 16 is 10 years, and 17 and 18 is 2 years, that is 11th and 12th. Now this has completely been changed. It is foundational course first, which is going to teach at a multi-level, play-based, activity-based learning. So Anganwadis, preschools, Balvatikas, which are aged from 3 to 6 years, are part of foundation building system. Then first and second year class is a 2 years education, so 3 plus 2, 5 years. Then you have a preparatory education, which is 3 years education. Then we have a middle education and the secondary education. So these are the stages, right? So it's completely going to revamp the system, because now this has been divided based on the pedagogical structure. Now you'll be saying that why there is a necessity of dividing into such a structure, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. It is based on 2 concepts. One is a socio-economic fabric of our country, and second is the necessity of revamping the pedagogical and curricular structure. So if you see this right hand side, it is clearly talking about what kind of education has been imparted in what kind of stage. So foundational stage means activity-based learning. Preparatory stage means play-based, discovery-based, activity-based and interactive classroom learning. Middle stage means experiential learning, which includes now in the middle stage science, mathematics, arts, social sciences and humanities. And secondary means that critical thinking, flexibility, choice-based system, multidisciplinary system, that comes into the secondary education. In fact, vocational education has been integrated into the school education now, which probably I will come on some other slide. So initially or now also vocational education is a separate education system, right? But vocational education has become an integral part of the school education. Every child must get a vocational education, right? Now, this is the first concept that is called as an ECCE, Early Childhood Care and Education. This is related to the age group of 3 to 6. And it has been said that 85% of the brain's development happens in this age, 3 to 6 years of an age. That means this age group is very, very important for further success of the education policy. And therefore, this policy talks in detail about ECCE. If this fails, this group fails, probably the entire 15 years plan or 20 years plan is going to fail. And therefore, a lot of ministries need to jointly work out to make successful ECCE. So there will be a typical curriculum, foundation curriculum, which is going to be developed by NCERT, and then curriculum not only for the students or the kids between the age group of 3 to 6. It has also been recommended by the policy that the guidelines for the parents and the teachers also needs to be developed, and that's a welcome move over here. So I'll go a little faster. So now, as far as child education is concerned, there are main aspects on which entire child education has to be built up. That is developing the curiosity, logical thinking, arts, crafts, music, relationship with nature, colors, shapes, alphabets, so on and so forth. Now you can see that how good outcomes have been crafted into this policy, right? So definitely it's not based on the rote learning. So learning in the formative years is going to happen in this manner, right? Now, as far as grade 3 is concerned, after your first stage, foundation building, after foundation building, so foundation stage is for 5 years. Now you have the preparatory stage for 3 years, that is grade 3. Okay. So in grade 3, what has been focused is FLN, that is foundational literacy and numeracy, and it is a target of the national policy education to attain 100% literacy and numeracy in the country up to 2025. That means in 2 to 3 years. We want each and every child in our country to be able to read and to be able to read the Indian alphabets and the numerical systems, right? So this is, and they have also done or recommended few courageous things like national mission. National mission on foundational literacy and numeracy has to be formed to achieve 100% mission. And in every school has to run 3 months play-based school. So when a child will go from second class, class 2 to class 3, there will be a 3-month school, so that each and every child is at the same level, right? The way we are having induction program in our engineering colleges now, it is exactly the same model, right? So there are many things, and most important aspect over here recommended is reduction in the curriculum. Reduction in the curriculum. This is an important aspect because when we talk about critical thinking, when we talk about interactive classes, when we talk about experiential learning, right, there has to be time, there has to be a scope into the curriculum. And when you want to build a scope into the curriculum, it has been strongly recommended in the National Policy of Education that as far as core concepts are concerned, make curriculum only for essential core components. So curriculum in all courses to be reduced to its core essential. It is a core, but whatever is essential, only that needs to be taught, and space has to be made for critical thinking, interactive classes, and an experiential learning, right? So this has been done obviously to minimize the rote learning and to encourage the skill-based learning. And for this, National Curriculum Framework has been recommended, and that National Curriculum Framework, under that, new syllabus has to be formed, and then teacher education has to be carried out, and that as a target is only 1 year. 1 year target is given for all those things, right? Then learning outcomes, competencies and subject integration. Very important aspect over here is that silos among the different subjects have been completely removed. This is true even for higher education. So when we will talk about higher education, this is very important for us, because when we say that engineering college, inside engineering also we have multiple disciplines and they don't talk to each other. Including, if you see my college, which is SPIT, Bhavan's Institute, If you see the Bhavan's campus, there are so many institutes, but they don't talk to each other as far as pedagogy, curriculum development, and teaching learning processes are concerned, right? So these are small silos that are developed into the education system. Engineering education is different, governed by some different body. Medical education is different, governed by some different body. Architecture is different. Everything is different. Science is completely different. Art, commerce, science. Again, there are streams. So we have created silos because of whatever reason. After independence, these silos have been created, and then we are still living under those silos. However, when we talk about holistic development of a human being, one cannot live with the only one aspect of education. For example, only with technology. We need to have the knowledge of science. We need to have the knowledge of some other domains, and therefore it has been recommended that there will be no separation between curricular activities, co-curricular activities, extracurricular activities. Activity means activity, that's it. No separation between curricular, co-curricular, extracurricular activities. No separation between academic and vocational courses. They are integrated. No separation between science and humanities. No separation between sports, arts, and academics. Everything has to be integrated, right? This is a very important and a courageous step that has been taken by the National Policy of Education, along with some other things like integration of subject, competency-based learning, etc., etc. Another important aspect is that every school must focus on mental, physical health and well-being of a child. For that purpose, many new programs have been recommended. Earlier programs like midday meal, etc., are continued. Health checkup cards needs to be issued to each and every school child. Every school child should carry along with him or her health card, right? All those things are new things that have been recommended, right? Then bagless days, etc., equal weightage for all the activities, integrated pedagogy, promotion of peer tutoring. Peer tutoring has been recommended. That means senior students teaching to the junior students. All those kind of concepts have been encouraged fully into this National Policy of Education, right? Textbook contents, revamping of the textbook contents, so that whatever has been emphasized means along with the local context has been encouraged, and that also for that purpose there will be a committee specially formed for framing all the textbooks. Then leadership roles. For all leadership roles, it has been recommended to inculcate into the upcoming fields. For example, it has been greatly written about artificial intelligence and machine learning. Since the future belongs to that, it is recommended that students needs to be developed computational thinking. For that, India's future leaders, if you want to develop, then you must build up mathematical thinking and problem solving skills. If you want your child to go for artificial intelligence, design thinking, holistic development, etc. So these subjects and their foundation building needs to be included in the school education itself. And all these subjects, they are based on the mathematics, and therefore strong mathematical foundation is recommended in the National Policy of Education, right? Then knowledge of Indian knowledge about the art, culture, tribal related, everything has to be imparted in the school education, right? This is another important aspect, examinations. It has been recommended that a school authority will take an assessment not for the rote learning, but it will be for assessment of core concepts, knowledge, and higher order skills. And the assessment in schools will be carried out by the authority at three stages: class 3, class 5, and class 8. So assessment stages are class 3, class 5, and class 8 only. And assessment will be carried out for learning outcomes, critical learning outcomes. Then for 9th and 12th board exams are concerned, they will be based on two patterns: objective types as well as descriptive type. Main focus of the national education policy over here is two things. One is attainment of the learning outcomes, along with the curbing the coaching classes culture in the country, right? So that's why it has been recommended that to curb the coaching class culture in the country, board exams will be made easier, as they will test the primary core capacities and competencies. It has been clearly mentioned in the educational policy. And therefore, there will be a separate assessment board that will be formed, and that is called as PARAC. So this national level assessment board will look into the norms and guidelines for the assessment, will prepare the assessment guidelines for the board examinations, and that's how the examinations will be carried out. The summary over here is that the board examinations are made easier and outcome based. Entire culture of assessment is going to be changed with this system, because it is based on the continuous tracking of the learning outcomes. It has been recommended that board exams will be carried out at least twice in a year. In fact, if it is possible, then states can frame a policy to have a continuous assessment for the board exams as well. And every state has to follow the National Assessment Center guidelines, which have been given by the PARAC. And AI-based solutions are proposed to be looked into for doing these assessments. This is again very important step, which is called as a holistic progress card. Every student is expected to get a holistic progress card. Now it will be a 360-degree progress card, which will state the students' activity-based learning achievements, inquiry-based learning achievements, what is the achievement in case of quizzes, role plays, group works, portfolio, etc. So it is a 360 degrees report card. It has also been recommended that this report card is kind of a reflection of an education system or the school that is imparting the education, and it's not for a student to make him or her fail or pass. So it's a holistic progress card that and innovatively needs to be designed and followed. That is a very good thing that has been recommended. Then language also, bilingual, it has been proposed. So 3 language formula obviously has to be followed. The basic education should be in the home or the mother tongue. And then language of India, second language is must, language of India, and there is a restriction on the foreign language, or you can say in vice versa, the Indian language is must in the curriculum. That is what has been proposed. This is very important concept again, school complexes and clusters. So now one small schools have not been recommended. It has been recommended that there has to be a complex. So probably in 10 kilometers of a distance, there will be one complex, and that complex will own the small centers like Bal Bhavans, etc. So complex culture needs to be developed. That has been recommended. Accreditation framework has been brought into the school education system as well. This is called as State School Standards Authority. Like we have an NBA, National Board of Accreditation. Similarly, over here, government is going to set up, or Ministry of Education is going to set up a State School Standards Authority. Yes, and institutions or schools needs to have a self-disclosure of all basic regulatory information onto the school website. They need to disclose all their information to this SSSA. Next point is to ensure all schools follow the certain minimal professional and quality standards. They are going to develop these standards, that what schools should follow professional standards, and schools needs to follow those standards. This framework will be called as School Quality Assessment and Accreditation Framework, SQAAF, developed by NCERT or state boards. And then periodic health checkup of all the schools will be taken up based on this accreditation criteria. And most important aspect in this accreditation criteria is public and private school will be dealt, will have the similar treatment. There will not be any differentiation or discrimination between the public schools and the private schools. That's a good important step that has been taken into accreditation criteria. So now schools will also be accredited based on SSSA. Teacher education has been completely changed. Now the teacher B.Ed degree has been made compulsory for teaching into the schools by 2030. B.Ed degree is must. So there could be a 4-year B.Ed degree, 2-year B.Ed degree, or 1-year B.Ed degree based on the entry of the candidate. For example, somebody can go for 4-year integrated B.Ed. Somebody who is already specialized in some bachelor's degree can go for 2 years B.Ed degree along with the bachelor's degree, or somebody who is having a master's degree as well can again go for 1-year B.Ed degree. So all this, so B.Ed degree is compulsory for teacher education now, right? Then for as far as teachers are concerned, they are pillars of any education system, and there are so many improvements have been suggested for teachers, for empowering the teachers. Now what I will do is I will go to higher education because we don't have much time for the other parts. So I feel I should go for higher education, rather than school education now, because important points I have already told you, right? Now let us try to discuss about the higher education, reforms in higher education. Now, as I told you that professional education is considered as a part of higher education. Here also in the document does not talk separately much about the engineering education or professional education. There is only one page devoted for the professional education, assuming that it's a part of our higher education system, right? So that means we need to talk about higher education system. Completely new architecture has been proposed for higher education. A new vision and an architecture for higher education has been envisaged with a large, well-resourced, vibrant, multidisciplinary institution. It has been recommended that in every district, at least one one university should exist, which provides the multidisciplinary education, like a Takshashila or Nalanda-based university, right? So here the culture of small institutions has been discouraged and are going to be closed down within few years, and then only multidisciplinary higher institutions, HEIs, are encouraged to be formed. There are currently 800 universities and 40,000 colleges, which will be consolidated into 1,500 excellent institutions. So no separate 800 universities, 40,000 colleges. They need to be consolidated into a larger institution. 1,500 excellent institutions government wants to form. So there will be only 3 types of institutions now that will be existing in the country as per this policy. So this is a complete restructuring. There are type 1, type 2 and type 3 institutions. Type 1 institution will be research intensive universities. So these universities will be focused on world-class research and also on the high-quality teaching learning processes. For example, IITs. IITs would fall under this category, like research-intensive universities focused on world-class research and high-quality teaching as well. Then there will be type 2 universities, which are teaching-intensive universities. These are focused on high-quality teaching across the discipline, along with the significant contribution to the research. Research is also happening, but then teaching learning is the main criteria for these universities. And type 3 is Autonomous Degree Granting College. It is called as AC, Autonomous Degree Granting College, where high quality teaching focused on undergraduate education. So that means this college will be focused on high quality teaching, but it is specially for undergraduate education. So in entire country now, whether it's a humanities, science, art, commerce, engineering, whatever it is, it will fall under these 3 categories: type 1, type 2 or type 3. Now there will not be separately any art college, there will not be separately engineering, this and that. All are together multidisciplinary education. So they have to fall under either type 1, type 2 or type 3 category: research intensive, teaching intensive or autonomous degree granting college. So only these are the 3 HEIs that will be existing now. So HEIs here onwards, it means that either it is research intensive, teaching intensive university or autonomous degree granting college. By this policy, government is expecting in higher education 50% gross enrollment ratio by 2035. That means after 15 years, government wants 50% of the enrollment ratio, gross enrollment ratio. Now this again slide is very important because it has been recommended to have a holistic education, multidisciplinary education, having flexibility in all kinds of subjects. Holistic, multidisciplinary and flexibility. That means somebody who comes out of 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 based system. So after having this 15 years of education, somebody is entering into higher education, now can plan his or her own path. So it is a completely a cafeteria based system, multidisciplinary system. Whatever you want is available to you, is the meaning of that, right? So multiple entry exit points are recommended. So in a higher education, if somebody enters and completes 1 year successfully into a particular HEI, then that candidate will become eligible for certificate. After that, if somebody wants to discontinue the education, can discontinue, right? If somebody completes 2 years of an education into a particular HEI, then it's a diploma that candidate will get. If somebody completes 3 years of an education, then candidate is going to get a degree. And finally, if somebody gets a 4 years of an education in that HEI, then it is a degree along with some major or minor, right? Major in some, for example, major in finance or minor in finance, something like that, correct? So very courageous step, completely changed. Now there is no separate degree, diploma, this and that. It is integrated system, holistic, multidisciplinary system, completely choice-based system. Anything can be taken for any years, right? So multiple entry exit points. So in this case, UG program, when we say an UG program, it is actually 3 year or 4 years of an undergraduate program. Postgraduate program is 1 year or 2 year has been recommended. 1 year as such, and 2 years means along with research, 1 year of an research has been recommended. Integrated 5 years bachelor's and master's degree program is also recommended. UG plus PG, that is integrated 5 years bachelor program is also recommended. However, MPhil has been completely discontinued. MPhil has been completely discontinued. Somebody wants to pursue a PhD now, then has to do a master's degree in an integrated, should have a master's degree or at least should have 5 years of an integrated bachelor's program, right? The next courageous step is about the credit transfer and the academic credit bank of credits. Now, a candidate can accumulate the credits earned and have a transfer not only in a particular HEI but among the different higher education institutions, including the foreign institutions. That has been recommended. So it has been recommended that foreign credits and including the credits from Indian universities to the recognized foreign universities, it will be possible to have a credit transfer. So the degree will be granted based on the number of credits accumulated, number of credits that a particular candidate will have in his or her bank. Very courageous step because somebody now can take some credits from one of the HEI, one of the institution, and can go to another institution and get another credits and go on accumulating the credits, and that's how the degree could be granted. So very, very courageous step this is, and very good welcoming step, I believe, right? Then the next is model multidisciplinary education and research university curriculum or universities needs to be developed. It has been recommended that in or near each and every district, one MERU has to be there. MERU means Multidisciplinary Education and Research University. A university which carries out multiple disciplinary education and research. One has to exist near each and every district. Right now, the universities which are existing, majorly they are affiliating universities. They are doing only job of affiliation. So that culture has been completely discouraged. And now we are moving towards MERU-based system. So that means multidisciplinary education and research universities, right? So we are moving towards completely liberalization in the education, a broad-based liberal arts education at undergraduate level for integrated, rigorous exposure to arts, science, humanities, mathematics, professional fields to be in place. This would have an imaginative and flexible curriculum structure, creative combinations of study. Creative combinations. Somebody wants engineering few courses, somebody wants to have a finance courses or some other creative courses, art, commerce, etc. can be taken, right? All those points are possible. In fact, this vocational education, I want to talk about it also here now. We had a degree called as BVoc, Bachelor of Vocation. And in fact, after 10th also there are vocational courses. However, now it has been completely discouraged to have a separate vocational courses. Vocational courses needs to be integrated inside the system. So there is some statistics and very interesting statistics that is in the age group of 19 to 24, if we see, and if we calculate the percentage of candidates or population or the workforce that goes for vocational education, you'll be surprised to know that India's digit comes less than 5%. What I said, I'll repeat. In India, less than 5% of the population or the people in the age group of 19 to 24% pursues the vocational education. Whereas, if you see the other countries like USA, in USA this number is 52% in the same age group. In Germany, it is 75%. That means 75% of the population knows in this age group, 19 to 24, knows about the vocational part, have learned the vocational concepts. South Korea, it is as high as 96%, right? So that means there is an urgent need for the country to integrate vocational education along with the professional and the regular education. This is what national policy talks about, right? In fact, I'll read the sentence as it is. These numbers only underline the urgency of the need to hasten the spread of vocational education in India. We need to have a good vocational education, and therefore national skills qualification framework, which has already been formed in 2013, will work to inculcate these skill sets at the entry points. And this vocational education is going to start from standard 6th now. It will be imparted from standard 6th onwards, right? So that's a very courageous and very important step. That means each and every student, I want to say here standard 6 means each and every student that is coming from standard 6 onwards in the education system have learned one of the vocation at least. And internships have also been introduced into the school education. So internships like local interns, local industries, they can collaborate with local interns, local skill-based learning, like maybe a carpentry, maybe a gardener or something like that. But one should know at least one of the vocation. That's the meaning, right? Then other reforms like graded autonomy, academic, administrative, and financial autonomy has been recommended. Affiliation-based system should be phased out in next 15 years. In the target of this NEP is there should not be a single affiliated system existing in the entire country in next 15 years. All will move towards autonomous accredited systems. AC that we have categorized type 1, type 2, type 3. So at least type 3 has to be there. Every system will be an autonomous, self-governed, self-regulated system. No affiliation, no regulation in 15 years. Means affiliation kind of regulation won't be there. That's the meaning. Then there are many other reforms like National Mission on Mentoring, separate mentoring mission has to be there. Then independent board of governance, anyway, it is still existing, but then it has to be very well established. That's what has been recommended. Single regulator. This is a very important aspect of higher education. Single regulator for higher education, which I will talk about the next slide. On next slide, it excludes legal and medical education. Excluding legal and the medical education, there is going to be a single regulator. So I'll go directly to that. What does it mean? So what is regulation first, right? Governance and regulation. So you know our regulators for engineering are we have multiple regulators like AICTE, UGC, universities, and so on and so forth. Institutional governance will be based on the autonomy, academic, administrative, and financial. Each higher education will be governed by an independent board. Regulation will be tight but light. In fact, NEP, National Policy of Education, puts this word many times into the document. Regulation will be light, but it is going to be tight. Light but tight to ensure financial probity and public spiritedness, standard setting, funding, accreditation, and regulation will be conducted by independent bodies to eliminate the conflict of interest. Now, in present system, you know that if I want a funding for my project, where I can apply at so many places. I can apply to AICTE. There are proposals, they call for proposals. Then I can apply to UGC. I can apply at various places, right? At the same time, there will be a regulation from all these bodies, correct? So financial probing will be done by all these institutions, right? Standard settings, standards, recruitment standards, or including curriculum related, pedagogy related standards. AICTE also gives, UGC also gives, multiple bodies gives, and local institutions, local bodies like university, etc., or state government, they also gives us some standards, right? So multiple regulating bodies, multiple standards, multiple funding agencies, multiple accreditation bodies, all this needs to be carved out, and this is what has been recommended. Only single regulator will be there. All will be UGC, etc., AICTE will fall or will be converted into this. Regulator will be called as Higher Education Commission of India. HECI, Higher Education Commission of India, will be a single regulator for higher education in the country, including arts, commerce, science, humanities, engineering, architecture, pharmacy, everything, except legal and medical. Except legal and medical, this HECI will have the purview over all entire education in the country, higher education in the country. It will have 4 verticals dedicated for 4 aspects. One of the aspect will be regulation of the education. Next is an accreditation. next will be funding, and finally academic standard setting. So 4 verticals will be created from this HECI. First vertical is called as National Higher Regulatory Council, NHERC, National Higher Regulatory Council. Job of this is only to regulate. So it will not be an accreditation agency or funding or standard setting agency. It will be only regulating agency for the higher education. So National Higher Regulatory Council. Then we will have a National Accreditation Council. So it will be called as NAC, NAC. Job of this council is to carry out the accreditation of HECIs or higher education institutions in the country. Then as far as funding related, grants related agency is concerned, it will be called as Higher Education Grants Council, HEGC. So job of this HEGC will be funding the higher educations. And finally, there will be a GEC, 4th vertical of HECI. These are the 4 verticals. NHERC, NAC, HEGC, and GEC will be General Education Council. Job of General Education Council is to frame the curriculum and is to frame the assessment practices, etc., pedagogical practices. This will work in coordination with the National Higher Education Qualification Framework, NHEQF, which is already in place from 2013, and National Skills Qualification Framework, which is also existing there. So they have to now revamp themselves and come up with the new curriculum and the pedagogical practices and also the graduate attributes. It has been recommended that General Education Council will revise and give us the new graduate attributes. For preparing the graduate attributes, particularly they are going to consult to the National Skills Qualification Framework. And all the bodies which are existing, like vocational body related to architecture or some other councils, all professional councils in the country will now only act as professional standard setting bodies. They will set the standards of the education. That's it. In the country, professional councils will become like now PSSBs, professional standard setting bodies. So if there's a council for architecture, they will only set the standards for the architecture. If there's a council for something else, they will set the standards for that. So this is how the entire regulatory framework is going to work in the country. Most important aspect here is the last line. All these regulators will not differentiate between private and the public higher education institutes. That's a very good indicator, right? So you know very well right now that if I want to apply for a funding in that form, they will definitely ask. In fact, funding criteria itself is different. If you go for AICTE AQIS, which was there open till 31st December, it was open, extended deadline was there, and now some of you might have submitted the forms also, right? You read those manuals, what they say. If you are from the government institution, then this many research proposals you can apply, or this many FDPs you can apply, this many STTPs you can apply. If you are not from government, if you are from private, something else. So all those rules are different. So government is treated in a different manner, private is treated in a different manner. Inside the government itself, IITs are treated in a different manner, NITs in a different manner, government colleges in a different manner, aided colleges in a different manner, right? So completely different rules for different people. That's not going to happen now. That's what policy says. No differentiation between private and the public education institutions. Everybody will be same for HECI, Higher Education Commission of India. I believe that's a welcoming step, right? Then as far as research is concerned, country's growth depends on the economic, and the economics depends on the academics, and the academics depends on the research, right? So research is very, very important. And if you see the percentage of GDP that our country spends on the research and innovation is very, very less as compared to so many countries in developing countries in the world, right? And therefore the outcome or the output and the outcome both expected are very, very less, right? Even patents are very, very less as compared to other countries. In fact, the surprising figure is in India also, Indian Patent Office, if you see, majority of the patents are filed by the foreigners or foreign companies, multinationals, and not by the Indians or not by the for India, made in India, right? Not like that. So Indian patents are being taken by the foreigners. That's again a surprising figure, right? Even if this 45,000 is there total patent applications, but majority will be by the foreign multinationals, right? So there is an urgent need to revamp the research culture in the education sector or in an entire country. That has been said by the policy. So total investment on research and innovation in India, in fact, has declined. It was 0.84% of GDP in 2008, and in 2014, 0.69, and probably it is still less, right? This is not a good culture. So NEP strongly recommends, committee recommended that need to establish an autonomous body now for research organization, and that is called as an NRF, National Research Foundation, which will look into the outcomes of the research, right? So NRF has been recommended for the country, and NRF will be an apex body. It has been proposed to creating a research culture in all the higher education institutions, right? So what will be the job of NRF? National Research Foundation. Job of NRF will be granting the proposals, seeding the proposals, growing and facilitating the research. They will act as liaison between the researchers and the government agencies, and they will also recognize the outstanding research and the progress carried out in the country. So this will be the job of NRF. So National Research Foundation will be formed in the country. We will have a separate National Research Foundation now. Now, once it has been formed, I believe that if we want to submit the proposals, we will have to submit the research proposals to NRF for pursuing the research, right? So again, a welcome step. Then internationalization of education. It has been recommended in the policy that India is open now for the foreign institutions. So top 100 universities of the world are being invited to open their campuses in the country. As per this policy, top 100 universities, they will be dealt at par with the Indian education institutions, HEIs. There will not be differentiation between foreign institutions and the Indian institutions. That has been said. And then it has also been said that every HEI will have International Students Office, ISO, which will deal with the international relations and credit transfer. So if somebody it may be possible that somebody takes an admission in one of the Indian institution and then goes to the foreign institution in India itself, which is existing in India itself, then that credit transfer will be possible. It has been clearly stated in the policy that credit transfer between Indian HEIs and foreign institutions established in the country will be allowed. It will be allowed. So welcoming step, as well as we need to think about our institutions and ourselves also, right? Because this will be a very courageous step, and very, I think many good universities will try to open their campuses in the country. Then, as I said, integration of vocational, teacher and professional education. This is completely now integrated. There is no separate professional or other education. It will be only one. Setting up of new high quality HEIs has been made easier. The procedure for setting up an institution has been made easier as compared to the earlier processes that it talks about. And separate institutes for other languages like Pali, Persian, etc., etc. Okay. So this is about the Indian knowledge system. You need to have an Indian knowledge system in place. Okay, I'll go for some other important points which are related to us. Use of technology. This is again have been encouraged, and it has been stated that now in an entire country, this use of technology has to be encouraged at all levels, including our 5+3+4 formula. There also in school education, technology has to be used extensively. That is in fact one of the prime focus of the system. So education planning, technology use has to be done at all stages of the education, like planning of the education, teaching, learning, assessment, administration and management, and regulation, like self-disclosure, etc. At all these places, wherever possible, technology has to be incorporated. Technology needs to be developed for disadvantaged groups. In fact, I could not get much time, therefore I have not spoken about the disadvantaged groups, divine students, etc., etc. But policy talks in detail about that also. So this slide tells you that softwares needs to be developed for divine students, disadvantaged groups. E-content in regional languages, large focus has been given onto this, and there are many pages devoted to it. There are many languages which are present in the country. In fact, last, I think 1 or 2 years ago, United Nations have declared there are 195 languages which are died in India, right? So how many languages are there? So many languages. So e-content needs to be developed in regional languages, because mother tongue in mother tongue, we can converse very easily and people can understand very easily, right? So there is a lot of scope for the people who are working in machine learning, natural language processing, and all those domains. And that has been actually mentioned over here in the National Policy of Education, that areas of focus or the workforce in artificial intelligence, machine learning, AR, VR technologies needs to be developed so that we get good softwares in or e-content in regional languages, right? And then virtual labs needs to be developed, National Education Technology Forum, and digitally equipped schools, teachers, colleges, etc., etc. Right. And finally, the policy also talks about the adult education. The people who are not in the schools right now, the who are adult, what are we doing for them? Because our life is going from very disruptive things. So policy talks about it also. Lifelong learning skills and the adult education needs to be dealt with. If somebody wants to learn being an adult, then what it has been recommended that every higher education institution should have innovative initiatives for dealing with the adult education. They can create adult education centers. There needs to be a center. For example, there is a yoga center, there may be some sports center, gymnasium, etc. is there. Similarly, it has been recommended that there has to be an adult education center. It is called as AEC, which will impart training to the adults in various domains that have been listed inside the policy also. For example, technology related training to the adults, right? For example, how to use apps, etc., how to use online, how to study or how to write an email, for example, simple thing, correct? Those needs to be developed. That is what has been said. Online books and should be provided for those people. Then some satellite TV based courses, online courses, all needs to be developed. In short, there has to be an adult education center in the higher education institute to inculcate the lifelong learning skills or to encourage the lifelong learning skills of the present adult. And there are five domains that have been or 5 types of programs that have been encouraged: foundational, literacy, and numeracy. If there is somebody who is a laborer or daily worker and wants to learn about the literacy and the numeracy, then institution should provide that facility in the off time of the school. That has been mentioned, right? Somebody wants to learn the critical life skills, or institution should provide critical life skills to the adults. For example, maybe health related life skill or fire safety related life skill or some other life skills should be provided. Vocational skills, if somebody wants to learn a particular vocation, then those should be provided. Somebody wants to have a basic education, which is a part of 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 formula, then that should be provided. And finally, the continuing education opportunities in the form of certificate courses, etc. All those things should be provided. So this is about the National Policy of Education. In 1 hour, I tried to give the highlights of this policy of education. What I think is that it's a very good policy. What it talks about is it has been deliberated in detail and brought out to us after 34 years. Revamp in education in our country is happening after 34 years in such a big country. That itself is a surprising thing. Chalo theek hai, der aaye lekin durust aaya. Now, at least we must follow all these guidelines. And then what is in summary is that this policy talks about having a bigger institutions in the country, not a smaller institutions. So they are thinking of only university kind of a culture, because in foreign countries you have like Carnegie Mellon, you take MIT, you take Berkeley, those kind of, there is a recognition, right? And therefore, this country also wants to develop bigger institutions. Those institutions will not have silos which are existing right now, like humanities, art, commerce, technology, this, that. Those silos will not be there, no hindrance. So it is a multidisciplinary, holistic development based university will be there. There are 3 types of institutions, like research based, teaching based, and only accredited autonomous institutions. All affiliated institutions will be phased out in next 15 years of a time span. And school education, a lot of things have been focused, including ECC policy, which is the early childhood education. Many things have been proposed over there in the early childhood education. And then in next 20 years, it has been proposed that this entire policy will be full-fledged, fully implemented policy will be there. And the aim is to have 50% of the gross enrollment ratio up to 2035. right? And multiple entry exit points. As far as our professional education is concerned, multiple entry exit points, and learning outcome based education, assessment completely different based on the assessment skills, having a credit bank. So very innovative concepts have been, very courageous concepts have been proposed into this policy. Only what I feel is that less things or the limitations, you would say, my opinion I'm telling, that is much focus is not given on the financial aspects of the institutions. When you want to build the institution, when you want to revamp the system, you require the money for that. And that is the one aspect which probably is not so strongly worded into the policy. Otherwise, rest of the things looks to be very, very nice for me. So I think now it was only one-way discussion. You can also comment, talk, and tell me something. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we are now starting with the Q&A round. Any questions and queries are welcome.
Good afternoon, Rathod sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
I have one concern, small concern. Maybe I don't know it is relevant or not relevant. There are public school and private school, and in that there is a huge difference between the fees. Now, in the current situation, there is no provision of RTI. I want to inquire how you are charging the fees.
Yes.
So, in new policies, is there any provision
Yes.
that?
Yes, sir. There is a cap. There is a cap, and they have said that fees, in fact, will be the maximum fees. There will be a cap on the system. That's it. If it is existing on some slide, I will show you. So now government will put cap on the fees. So they won't differentiate as far as public and the private schools are concerned. Fees ratio. Let me find out it is somewhere. It is there on some one of the slide. But then I'll tell you the difference. There won't be difference as far as private and the public schooling is concerned from all the aspects. There will be a cap on the fees that can be charged, maximum. That has been mentioned. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing else has been mentioned in the policy. It is only about the capping of the school fees.
Okay. But
yes,
right
sir.
now the capping is there, but they are not answering how they are charging. Because I want to know on what basis this fees is being charged. What are the different rates they are considering?
So to that detail, policy doesn't talk, sir.
Right now,
That's what I
because
said. When you
recently
read
in
entire
Gandhi,
policy, correct. When you read entire policy, only this finance aspect is not been discussed. I think in detail. Yes, sir. Go ahead. You were telling something.
recently in Kandivali school, there was a case related to same.
Okay.
So they said that it didn't come under the RTI Act, private school. So parent was asking how the fees, how you are charging that fee we will pay, but on what basis you are charging? Give us the explanation. So that was not given, and it was not under law also.
Yes, yes. Now policy, sir. One more interesting aspect which I have not mentioned here, that even if it is a policy, these are guidelines, right? And it is the guidelines given by the center. Now, what it tells that education is concurrent. That means it cannot happen in silos that center is proposing some policy and state is having some other policy. However, now states have to adopt these policies and accordingly work out their education system, right? So now states will come up with their own mechanisms and the methods over here. So education is a concurrent subject. In fact, it has been mentioned in the fundamental principle and the key guiding principle of this policy itself. So like that, education is a concurrent subject of the state and the center. So they are telling that center needs to develop and follow these policies, but ultimately center will develop on their own, right? So after when it starts, actually, then only we will come to know. So I think I have a map also. Okay, timeline is there. Where is that? Okay. My slides are still visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah,
The thank you slide is there.
Acha, this timeline slide is there, na?
No.
Your last slide.
Thank you slide is only visible to us.
Okay. Oh, acha. I'll have to. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Because I have shared it like a full screen, na? Yeah, came out of presentation. That's why it was like that.
Sir, should I ask one question in the meanwhile, or you are busy?
Yes, sir. Yeah. You can ask, sir. I can. Please.
It is pertaining to higher education. So you said presently it is 25 to 26%, and in next 15 years we want to bring it to 50%. Whereas contradictory thing that there are 800 universities and 40,000 colleges, which you said we want to reduce it to 15,000 excellent institutions. So this is not contradictory. You are reducing the number of colleges and then
reducing means reducing means now they are existing as a smaller institutions, small institutions, right? So what it has been recommended that no higher education institution which is having less than 4,000 enrollment will be existing in the country after 2035 or so, after 15 years. So no institution which is having less intake than 4,000 will be there. I think around 4,000 it has been mentioned. So what they are targeting is that these smaller institutions will be clubbed and you will have a bigger institutions only existing in the country. So their model probably will be like the USA model. When we say the USA, you talk about Berkeley, you say MIT, you say Carnegie Mellon, right? So it's a big institution, right? Inside that big university, all these are integrated. So when we talk about 15,000, all these are integrated inside that 15,000. So small club together.
So we have to think in those directions actually.
You have to think. So that's what I said. Now in every district, one university like that policy is talking about. So very courageous. Now in every district, if you want to develop such a university, so this 15 years timeline, I don't know how they are going to meet, but policy says like this.
And there won't be any HERA like that Higher Education Regulatory Act, something it was coming up in.
Exactly. AICT replacement, AICT and UGC combination.
Yeah.
But that is not mentioned in policy separately. Probably that is the same thing which.
I think they must have renamed.
Renamed. Yes, SCI, na?
Yeah.
Yeah, Higher Education Council of India, HECI.
Yes.
So they must have renamed. This one. So, sir, my slide is visible now. Full screen is still.
Yes, it is visible.
So this is the timeline given in the slides in the policy. Actually, it was not given as it is in toto, which is mentioned over here. It has been picked up from all pages somewhere what is mentioned, and see how they are progressing. So they want it to the implementation of new curriculum and the assessment guidelines immediately starting from 2021-22 for class 9th onwards, from here onwards. And new board exam pattern for the class 12th should exist from 2024-25 onwards. So that means right now whatever pattern is there, it will obviously continue, and new board pattern will be there for class 12th, right? In fact, class 10th is a much easier pattern, and class 12th will be the major pattern over here, right? And then if you go into the more details, it starts from here. Immediately this year itself, they will form the National Curriculum Framework for School Education, NEP, and National Curriculum Framework for Teacher Education, because curriculum has to be there, then teacher's education has to be parallelly be done. Immediately it has to be done within a year. This guideline, this time parameter is based on the draft actually. If you see the draft, it has come in 2019, 1 year, and probably now 1 year is already over. So this is the task now they have to do. They have to frame the curriculum and they have to frame the teacher education's curriculum framework, and then they will go ahead with the other policies, other guidelines implementation slowly. right? So finally, up to 2019 or 2014, policies in fully operational. In a comprehensive review will be taken. Comprehensive review of this policy will be taken over here. And as far as curriculum is concerned, it has been recommended that all the bodies which are framing the curriculum, for school it is NCERT, and for professional education or higher education it will be that GEC. So they will have to relook into the curriculum every 5 years. That has been recommended. Every 5 years they will look into the curriculum. And see, state, union, territories, governments to optimize resources through mechanisms to group or rationalize schools such as school complexes. So up to 2025 or 26, it has been recommended that there will be a bigger complex of a school in the 10 kilometers of a distance. And all the smaller schools or like Anganwadis, Balwadis and all those primary schools will fall under that cluster. And it has been done to optimize the resources, human resources and other resources. That is what has been done. That means in next 5 years, probably if this policy goes well, we should be able to see the larger school complexes at the start, right?
But expecting small children to travel so much is also not
traveling, madam.
Yeah.
No, madam. No, the concept is not like that actually. The school will remain over there. Let us say a school is there at 10 kilometers of a distance right now. But that school, the challenges also they have mentioned. The challenges probably one teacher is teaching to the so many courses or different classes, or they may not have the available technology with them, right? Or so many other challenges are there. How to overcome that challenge? So to overcome all such challenges of within the 10 kilometers of a distance, you will have a bigger complex which is going to have the solutions of all of these things, right? So now it has been suggested that if that school within a 10 kilometer is not having, let us say, teacher for a particular course, then teacher within the 10 kilometer from that complex will be provided to that school.
Okay.
So it is optimizing the resources within the 10 kilometers. So every school will be kind of a, you can say, affiliated will not be a good word now. Will be connected to the complex. It's like that.
And what about this type 1, type 2, type 3 you said, na?
Yes,
So,
madam. What?
Research intensive universities. So maybe this, is it that the research intensive universities will be for, postgraduate and PhD level or something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
How do they demarcate?
Yeah. So that they will demarcate based on the research and the what you should say intake in the postgraduate and PhD programs. Postgraduate and PhD programs, that intake. So based on that, it will be a type 1 institution basically, and type 2 institution will be a mixed population. Majorly it's an undergraduate, but then there will be a PhD, like our institution, you can say, correct? But obviously a larger institution they are expecting. So which is a teaching intensive, but still research has been carried out, and there would be only undergraduate institution type 3. Yes, sir.
You mean to say IITs will not be allowed to take UG courses?
Not like that, but then the major focus. That's what they are saying. Focused on world class, and they in a phased wise manner. It has been said already that they will have to focus on research and the PhD, PG courses, and in a phased out manner, they will have to reduce their undergraduate intake. Actually, it is like that. Yes. So their focus will be majorly on research only. Sir, whatever is written in the document, we can only tell that, correct?
Yeah, that is.
But it is mentioned there like that.
The whole implementation, evaluation, and all will. It's a big.
It's a very big challenge.
Sir,
it is not. Yes.
Sir, you mentioned that General Education Council and some professional councils inside that. So exactly what is the meaning of professional councils?
Professional council means the councils which are existing right now, no? Nahi samjha.
Like CSI or?
No. It is not about CSI. CSI is not a council, na? It is professional council. See, I'll read the statement, right? Indian Council for Agricultural Research. research, agricultural universities are governed by Indian Council for Agricultural Research. Then Veterinary Council of India, VCI, National Council for Teacher Education, NCTE, right? Council for Architecture, National Council for Vocational Education and Training. All these are different councils which are existing. Now those job of those councils will only be to develop the standards. That's it.
Okay.
And that will be given as an input to the other agencies like NAC, etc. NAC, like National Accreditation Council.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. In fact, it has been clearly stated that these 4 agencies should work independently. And if there is any dispute that arises between these 4 verticals, then HECI, that is Higher Education Commission of India, will step into. So HECI itself will be a dispute resolving agency between the 4 verticals.
Okay.
That means coordination between 4 will be done by HECI.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Somewhere I have heard that in a engineering curriculum, like a student can go for a research after a 4th year or integrated 5-year program or a doctoral kind of thing. Is it such kind of facilities are available, or have this new policy talk about it?
Sir, what new policy talks is there on this particular slide, right?
Yes.
So when you talk about the research,
Yes.
so like major or minor, they'll have to take in terms of major or minor, means 3 years UG plus 1 year you can call it as a research if you want, right? Research based, what you should say, research based that year degree, 4 years. In 4 years,
nothing to do with PhD.
No, that is nothing to do with PhD. But that will be an entry for PhD. If somebody does that, will be allowed to enroll directly for PhD. It's like that. You got the point, sir? Means 3 years. Means 3 years UG plus 1 year somebody is doing a research, extensive research, then direct entry into PhD is allowed.
That means if somebody does a 4-year bachelor course in engineering, he will be allowed to enroll to doctor.
Yes. With research. Yes, with research.
Okay. Thank you.
It's with research.
So hoping all the questions are put forward and answered, I now request all the attendees to turn on their cameras. Well, marking this as the end of the event, thanking all of you, the management, Reverend Father Valerian, and our beloved principal for supporting all our activities. Thanking you, sir. That was really very informative and enlightening session. We really thank you for sharing your valuable knowledge as well as time. Looking forward to host many more such enlightening sessions with you in near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks to Boyle, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the inputs very much.
Sir has left actually.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Chalo, thanks. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Swati.
I hope the session was really helpful.
Yes,
to
it
understand.
was indeed very useful, and Rathod sir means he will have a lot of information to actually transfer. That
Yes,
is what
yes.
has happened. Very nice.
Yes.
Good.
Because
thanks.
we have to
Yeah, yeah.
decide now in future about this.
Yeah, that is very important. We need to understand what is going to happen in education field because we are all traveling in the same boat, you know.
Yes, yes.
Very true. Sujata madam wanted to say something.
No, sir.
Okay then, bye. Bye.
Okay, sir. Bye.
Yeah.